Welcome, guys. Welcome. I hope you have a great day. Breaking news: Russia invaded Ukraine. I mean, who saw that coming? I know there were a lot of people. There were two camps. On one hand, you had the people who were adamant that the Russians were coming. 3 weeks ago, and on the other hand, you had all these people who, Russia only wants, NATO. They're afraid of NATO, which I was kind of borderline on that camp, because the arguments proposed were, at least there was at least a tree of logic behind it. All right, at least I could follow it. We're like, well, logically, I don't really agree with it, but I can see where they're coming from. Now, what the hell is going on here? I mean, guys, what? Like, I have a video ready for you. This has been breaking news over the past few hours. They invaded all over the Ukraine. Look at this. They've been all over. Explosions reported in Kiev, Kharkiv, Odessa, Zaporizhzhia. This is one of the biggest, in my opinion, mistakes that Russia could ever do, because you could still remain in the diplomatic sphere of the world if you only invade the areas occupied by the Russian separatists of Luhansk and Donetsk. You can still retain that level of, we're only doing what, I don't know. You can justify it some way, somehow. You can potentially, but this is just what, 1963. I don't know where this is going. I don't know what Putin thought was gonna happen. Like, I cannot follow the logic behind this. All right, let's see the video I have prepared here for you guys. Look at this. This is somewhere in Ukraine.
Я сейчас, короче, пойду вниз. Сейчас должна, чтобы при нападении бежать помогли.
I don't know what's gonna happen, because now any kind of potential justification, any kind of potential rhyme of reason that you could have potentially justified your invasion of Luhansk and Donetsk, or even putting or even mobilizing your army on the border with Ukraine with the pretext of, we're afraid of Ukraine joining NATO. You don't have any sort of moral high ground that you can hold over people, or at least not even moral high ground. Those are not the right words, but you don't have any kind of justification any longer. This is pure and total war. At least that's how things are unfolding now at 11:49 here. I don't know what's gonna happen, to be honest, because look at this. I mean, look at it. This is Ukraine, you know. And what's the end goal? That's something I cannot understand coming up from Putin. What is the goal? Because yes, you can tell me, oh, he's gonna annex the Ukraine. Fine. How the hell are you gonna hold the Ukraine? It's easy to annex a country that's, I don't know. I haven't looked at the numbers, but let's say 2 times, 3 times weaker than yours. I'm sure more than that, but a weaker country than yours, it's easier to annex. It's easier to gain control, especially if you have a bigger military. But it's still 44 million people on Ukrainian soil who are Ukrainian. And you think, what, they're gonna just give up? They're like, you know. And then you can say, okay, maybe the Ukraine, the Russian part of the Ukraine will be happy. They're like, finally we're getting back with Russia. The Russian ethnic group in the Ukraine. You might say, well, they'll be happy, and maybe I don't know their sentiments, okay, but you might you don't think you're gonna create enemies by bombing them as well? You know, and I don't know. I don't know. How can you? The problem is, I don't see a way out of this for Russia because the only way out is what? Let's all be honest. What? There will be horrific sanctions that will affect the world's economy, especially Russia's. Russia's will become crippled. Now, granted, I don't know what those potential sanctions entail, so I can't really state my opinion on the matter, but I'm going to assume that they're going to be brutal, that's for sure. And then the only thing, and then Russia will cut off its oil supply towards the west, in this case Germany, which it's already in the works. So what the oil prices has climbed by 8% since yesterday, and it's gonna just keep climbing and climbing and climbing. Energy is gonna become much more expensive globally. So that will create turmoil and unrest internationally, more than there already is. And then the question becomes how Russia will be potentially how will Russia sort of re-enter in the future in the international relations of things, respectable international. How would they be able they won't be able to re-enter international and global institutions and politics because because the whole world cried out when they annexed Crimea, and that was just Crimea, and they had a much better claim on Crimea. A claim that you can say, okay, well, they transferred the province of Crimea to Ukraine in 1954 or two, for administrative reasons. So you can say, well, Crimea was part of the Russian Empire. They were majorly ethnically Russian. So you can potentially have a discussion about it, right? But this, what? They're gonna just conquer the whole country and then I don't know where this ends. Are they gonna continue forward? Is this gonna take their momentum forward? Where? Where does it end? Now there are a lot of analysts online who speculate that they're gonna, oh my god, after this, it's the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. I don't believe that because they're already in NATO. Like Russia, now granted, maybe they're nuts. They want to go into a nuclear war, that's what I'm afraid of. But I don't know because I don't believe they're gonna go for the Baltic states because they're already in NATO. They know that the response will be much more concrete than it is for Ukraine because Ukraine is in sort of this limbo where they cannot join NATO now. It's over. But they're at war with Russia. And what will it be? The only thing I could potentially think that could happen, and listen on this, is that Russia takes over Ukraine. Half of it, 3/4 of it, whatever. And then the presidents, Lukashenko and Putin, sit down, and Putin says, give me all of Ukraine that is majorly Russian. So the eastern part of Ukraine. And I'll give you back the West. And so there won't be any Ukraine any longer, it will be just Western Ukraine. But then international sanctions would somehow still be in place. I don't know what's gonna happen, to be honest. But things are looking bad. I'll keep you posted, guys. I'm really interested. It's been international news. I'm gonna, of course, do a whole analysis tomorrow. 40 people, at least, they report that have been killed, and this is just the beginning. You see all these videos of just people fleeing. Look at this. People fleeing.
A terror.
I don't watch an ad, but people fleeing Ukraine from the motorway. I mean, look at this. At the bank, there are all these lines, and it's insane. It is insane. You know. It's things are not looking good for the Ukrainians. Things are gonna look horrible for the Russian people because they're the ones who are gonna suffer at the end of the day because of international sanctions. Now the question becomes: will China utilize this sort of crisis to start their own crisis and invade Taiwan? Now that would be interesting and extremely scary as well, because people think that international and big wars, you talk about them, and it takes time to get to that point. War can happen like as we have seen here, like that. The Olympics ended and war started. It's I hope things get better for everybody's sake. How At this point, I don't know. You could have had diplomatic talks with the separatists. Even then, that would have been hard. But now, it's impossible and it looks horrible. All of your sort of casus belli in this case that the Russians used is invalid because what was their belief? They're afraid of Ukraine joining NATO. Well, now it's completely falsified because you're gonna invade Ukraine? It's so yeah, guys. This has been the news. Thank you for listening. If you like my thoughts on this, leave a like, give me a comment, subscribe maybe. I'll see you guys next time. See you guys.